Hello everyone, in this video I want to do a reaction video to someone who was reacting on yareli's rework recently about one month ago, and I want to give it into my perspective because I like yareli. I actually think she's good frame and actually one of the top 20 definitely. So I think that she's good, maybe even top 15, 10 maybe. She's definitely good in my opinion, and getting stronger and stronger. She didn't even need to be as strong to be playable. However, right now she's becoming very strong. Um, she has some little problems, but some people make it as a huge problem. I don't really see that many problems. The biggest problems are with the bugs. And that is one of them, which is positive, but most of them are negative really. But those people don't even talk about bugs because they don't play her nearly enough to notice them, and that's pretty much the way how you find out that someone plays early. If he doesn't know about the bugs, then he doesn't play early. They are usually quite rare and very specific, and only people that either play her a lot or try different stuff with her are able to find what she's capable of and what are the bugs. So the bugs are not nice, but I think that generally she's pretty good warframe. She's well done, and yeah, I'm going to do a reaction to this rework reaction video. By the way, I have about 16% of playtime with Yareli, and she's right now my most played warframe. So if someone knows what he's talking about, it would be me.
Even as I'm writing this, I'm questioning my own sanity. I genuinely thought that surely I must have over exaggerated the condition of Yali on her release. But
Okay, first of all, you can see his abilities. His third ability had been replaced, and this ability doesn't work on Merolina. I'm not sure if he's aware of it, but it's a bug. It's known bug. Their helmet abilities usually don't work. Pretty much none damage ability works. Gloom I heard that works, but only the slow portion, not the healing portion. So putting any replacement on Yareli without replacing her too, which is the thing that breaks the helmet pretty much, doesn't make any sense. So just by observing this, you can see that this guy clearly did something wrong.
no, it really happened. You shit the bed when Yali is weaker than both Inaris and Hydroid.
Okay, now comes here the comparison. Yareli is weaker than Inaros and Hydroid. Now, what is Inaros actually good at? Yeah, Inaros has a lot of health, he's decently tanky in even Steel Path, and he has a way how to gain health back. That's all he does. He does it well, he doesn't need to have any active ability to be tanky. And with Arcane Grace, he has even more regeneration. So he's relatively easy Warframe to play, and that's everything he does. Hydroid is, by my opinion, one of the worst Warframes in the game, and definitely the worst designed Warframe. His abilities don't work pretty much ever. His free is useless pretty much. It doesn't have place in this game. His two is movement ability, which you cannot control. It's usually worse if you use it than if you don't. Your 1 and 4 are decent abilities, they are CC abilities, but they are one of the worst CC abilities in the game because there is certain randomness that enemies just won't be CC'd, and it happens quite a lot. So even though you know that you have few decent CC abilities, only your two good abilities are CC abilities, so you are usually only gonna use one. It doesn't make sense to use 1 and 4, you're only gonna use one of those. Also, in order to get full effect, you need to charge it, and without the full effect, the area is quite low for CC ability. So, Hydroid, the only thing he does is CC ability, and he has two of those, two abilities that are useless. So, pretty much, he has one CC ability that doesn't even work very well.
Primes of those
So, yeah, pretty much the worst design in the game. and one of the worst warframes. There are still decently designed warframes like Ivara. I would say that she's pretty weak. She has good design, but she's pretty weak. She has invisibility with a lot of reduction of movement speed. Uh, like who would want to move slower? You are invisible for free pretty much, but move slower 50%. It's terrible.
Frames were already ancient by the time she was released. After a year and some odd months, the devs finally decided that, yes, Yali is in fact a steaming pile of garbage, even after some of the most aggressive buffs I've ever seen. And speaking of which, I have no idea why they said she got a rework.
By the way, developers never said that she's bad. They actually think that yareli is cool. I'm not sure how they think about her strength. Probably they think that she's not strong enough. That's why they keep buffing her. But they actually think that her design is good. That's why they didn't rework her too much. They want her abilities to stay as they are. Recently, they have been buffed, especially her ultimate had decent rework, which works as a group ability quite decently. So she didn't really get changed too much, and the reason is because the DE likes the way Yareli is, and I also like the way how Yareli is. So I'm not the only one who likes the way how Yareli is. They design her this way, and they like her this way, and she works this way. If you don't believe it, I will try to explain to you why I think she's good. But let's continue.
She didn't get a rework, dude. Wukong's first ability was changed from a useless slam attack to a clone of himself that deals 300% damage. The ability was fundamentally changed.
Now he's talking about first ability of Wukong, which is his strongest ability, and comparing it to rework on Yareli, which didn't get that much big of a buff, but Yareli doesn't need that much big of a buff. Wukong was terrible. Yareli, she is not terrible. Let's start with that. She is not terrible. She doesn't need that huge improvement, but still that she's getting a big improvement. You will see. Like
Yareli still has the same abilities, and yes, that does mean that she has all the same problems as before, and as you will
I don't see any problems beside the bugs, and nobody is talking about the bugs because nobody who tried Yareli played her enough to experience them. I experienced them, and I would like them to be fixed. But that's the only problem I have with Yareli right now.
remember from the introduction, these problems were monumentally destructive to her viability. And so you better hope these buffs are the second coming of Christ, because I'm telling you, this Warframe needs Jesus.
In these cases, I'm wondering if they didn't change anything on Yareli and just keep improving the numbers. What is the point where people would say this Warframe is actually good? Would she need to have 10,000 damage per second on her 1? Would she need to have 90 damage reduction on her 2? Well, she will likely hit it. Would she need to have like 1 million total damage on her 3? Well, she only has like. She has less, but she'll still has a lot of damage. Her ultimate isn't that good for damage, but right now she's good for grouping. So let's continue.
Ah, I need to calm down. Alright, fine. She has gotten a buff on her first, second, and fourth ability, as well as her passive. Let's go over each of the changes and talk about why they don't work. Oh, I mean, let's discuss the changes and their impact on the meta and all that. Don't want to spoil the ending now.
Okay,
It
talking
used
about a
to
crit
give
passive.
200% critical chance, but now it gives 200% critical chance. And you get to keep the buff for 2 seconds without moving.
I don't know why he had to give there such a huge pause. Like, it used to give 200% critical chance, and now it really does the same, and then nothing. Because the thing that they allowed you to keep the buff even when you stop moving is very crucial. First of all, it increases your uptime. Instead of like having the passive like 50% of the time or 60, you have it like 85% out of the time, which is pretty much all the time, as long as you try to move a bit. And you are also able to aim on the enemy head. and you can just move only a little bit and you refresh the duration and you keep the buff. So you can pretty much stand on the ground still and only move a tiny little bit and you keep refreshing the duration. So it's now much more sustainable to have the crit chance. Before it was like only if you are moving and you are killing enemies on the way, you are able to have some more damage. But right now you have it pretty much all the time. It was actually a huge improvement.
I know you guys see crit and go ape shit. Fine, go play Trinity then.
Okay, now he's saying first of all that crit isn't that powerful. Um, he compares it to Trinity, and he says, "Look, Trinity has critical strike or a critical chance buff, and it's higher than yareli has, and still nobody plays her." Now, the reason why nobody plays Trinity is first of all, uh, her kit isn't very good. It's decent kit, but it's not enough by itself. But if Trinity actually had all the time 300% increased critical strike chance, I guarantee you that you will see much higher volumes of players playing Trinity. The reason why nobody plays Trinity is that you get only the 350% critical chance only if you heal from 1 health to maximum. And it actually doesn't even work on you. I just realized that. It only works if you heal allies. So when it actually works, you need your ally to get hit, and then if you heal him, you get a. Oh, and it only works for each percent you heal on your allies. So you need all of your allies to be like damaged, including at least one another companion, and then you give them, and then you give who do you give? Oh, you give it to yourself. You get crit chance if you heal like 3 of your allies and at least one more companion. And you are wondering why this uh, like m- how is it called buff for ability isn't played. It's almost impossible to get any value from it, and it also eats one of your slot. Yareli has it by herself. She has it always in her passive if she's moving at least a little bit. It's like 85% sustainable. This is like 5% sustainable. It is very hard to sustain, and only for 12 seconds. So you need your allies to constantly go on low health, all of them, and they cannot be downed. They need to have some health, and you need to heal them. It's just terrible. So it is comparing Yareli's like 85% sustainability to Trinity. This is very weak argument.
Some critical chance is not going to make a Warframe, and this is
Now he's saying that the passive on Yareli doesn't make her strong enough. Okay, now let's actually think about what Yareli's passive does. 200% critical strike chance. That is comparable to the primed critical strike chance thing for your secondary weapon, which gives 187, I think. So it's pretty much the power of one mod. So instead of having like 8 more weapon, you have 9 more weapon. Okay, it's a little bit better weapon. It's not like crazy more powerful, but in some cases, it's almost like having Riven instead of one of your mods. So it's definitely noticeable.
actually a nerf. Yes, I just said that unironically. Remember the Laetum? You know, the best secondary in the game?
Yes, Latum is the best secondary in the game. In most cases, not always, but in most cases, it is the best secondary in terms of damage in the game.
Right? You have to not crit to get your 1200% damage increase.
Now he's talking about crit build because obviously you are not going to play non-crit Latum on Yareli because she has extra crit chance. The problem is what he says is that you get so much crit chance that you are not able to acquire the buff.
And with all the batshit crazy maneuvers you have to already perform to not sprawl out on the ground like jelly pancake, having to stop every 2 seconds, every 10.
Now he's talking about that you need to every 2 seconds stop and don't move at all in order to lose your passive. And therefore, in order to get the stacks,
10 seconds
it's too hard. And I agree with that. It's too hard.
To stack this back up. It's
Don't do
just,
that.
my god, playing this frame feels more like managing a nuclear power plant while inhaling so much copium that I'm shocked that you haven't succumbed to an overdose yet.
Okay, now let's talk about the lithium actually. So this is my build on lithium that I used until recently when I found out it actually doesn't work. Without a crit chance, I have 22% crit chance. If I get more crit, I have 63, so this is pretty much the base. And that is his build also in this video. And it works like this. Once I get a 200% crit chance, I'm unable to obtain the the buff, the overwhelming attrition. If I lose the crit chance, I am able to get it easily. So what he's talking about that you are unable to get a buff with yareli because she gives you too much crit chance. Now there is a very simple solution. Reducing your crit chance. This is not best in slot mob. The best thing would be having Prime Crystal Gambit a little bit lower level, just to have like 95% crit chance or something like that. But with this, I have 22% crit chance is base. I have 120 additional. Then I have 200 for my passive. Wait, that's what I wanted. And you add base to it, the base 100%, you divide it by 100, and you multiply it by the crit chance, which is 22%. And you can see that I have 92% crit chance if I use Crystal Gambit, just normal one. If I actually went over and used Prime Crystal Gambit, I would have 187 plus 200 plus 100 divided by 100 and multiplied by the base 22, I would go over 100%. So it's not good to go over 100%. You need to stay under, and the easiest way is just to use normal pistol gambit. You can see that my base crit chance, if I'm just standing on the ground, is 48%. As I said, with the new passive, it's much easier to keep it up. So in total, instead of having like 65 or something like that percent late tune, I actually have 95% or something like that, which is still too much crit chance for the base version of late tune. But once you get into the second mode, and also multi-shot counts into it because your crit chance in is dependent on each bullet, or it's calculated for each bullet separately. So if you are firing like two bullets at once, one can crit, one cannot. So it's not like you fire once, you have one chance to crit. You have multiple chances to crit, between 2 to 3 depending on the build. So yeah, let's try it now. Easily overwhelming attrition is up. Okay, let's try it again. Easily refreshable. Again, with the maximum crit chance, easily refreshable. So the problem is that what this gentleman did is that he slapped the build, which he uses for every warframe, and he placed it into yareli, and he said it doesn't work. Therefore, yareli is bad. Yareli has actually stronger Leighton if she's using her passive right, and if she balances the crit chance. So, Leighton, the strongest weapon in the game, is actually stronger on yareli than on regular frames. Let's go back to the video. Okay, her one ability. Some people say that it is the biggest buff. Actually, yeah, it is very powerful, but in most cases you don't even use the ability. It's not needed. Unless you go like over level 300 enemies or something like that, you don't need the more damage. Some cases it may help, but in a lot of cases it just is not important. Uh, but yeah, it still helps in some cases.
This ability has all the same problems as before, the main two complaints being that it needs line of sight.
It needs line of sight. Now, imagine Warframe abilities. Number one Warframe ability. Some of them are actually pretty good, like Octavia, but she's broken, meaning like she's very overpowered. But most number one abilities, not all of them, but most of them, are actually terrible, especially if you look at the older frames. Like Vault, the Shock, just has little blim, and that's pretty much it. And it also needs like a line of sight. Ember needs line of sight. Rhino, it's like he will just charge into the wall. And with yareli, you have like 5 balls which have stun with like 15-second duration on 5 enemies at once. If Volt has 15% stun on his one, or like 15-second stun on his one for 5 enemies, and not only the few enemies that can get together in very low range, he would actually feel much stronger. So her one is one of the stronger abilities. Let's continue.
That it is expensive as all hell.
It is expensive, and now he's you showing it that it's expensive if you stand on the place and if you spam it. So actually, the thing that it is spammable and you can spam it very fast makes it bad. Because if you had like Chroma, he doesn't have high cost of his one. And what is the reason? The reason is because his one doesn't do too much. It just does a little bit of status, but it has huge upside of not being like energy hungry. Um, Also, Ash has pretty much the same spam ability as yareli, and also his ability costs 25 energy. Pretty much all Warframes in the game, except like maybe Vault, uh, have 25 energy on their one. And that is all, it is all across the board. So saying that her ability for some reason costs more, I don't understand it. How could it make sense?
Furthermore, the orbs is cast in such a needlessly wide arc, but
And they are casted in White Arc. Um, Again, this person probably didn't realize that the bubbles can actually home into enemies once they are set and done. And they can home at enemies at pretty long distances. So the thing that they are cast in large angle, which seems like 120%, it doesn't really matter because they will still find their enemies if you have at least like non-negative range.
they did remove the weird flight pattern, so at least that. Yeah, I guess I should mention the changes. Enemy suspended by sea snares has 200% damage vulnerability.
200% damage vulnerability. He also told how it works, which is also interesting. But what they pretty much done is the same thing as Anesha does. Um, she has damage vulnerability. So she uses on abilities, she does more damage into them.
And that means that their ability to take damage is twice as effective. So,
And not only that you deal more damage, your allies also deal more damage. Uh, but I think that it doesn't work on all enemies. I think that it only works on enemies that are suspended. So enemies that are immune to CC may not have the damage vulnerability. I'm not sure about that, but I think that in a lot of cases when it's actually important, it doesn't work.
when they would have taken 3 damage, they take 6 instead and not 9.
Yes, because the damage vulnerability in this case doesn't say how much more damage you take, it takes how much damage the enemies take. Which I think is pretty much the same thing as Sonra on Banshee, when she says how much more damage the enemies take. And there it is written on in like 100% or 500%. It is written like 5 times. And this is pretty much the same thing. Enemies take more damage from all sources.
So, with 300% ability strength, they have 400% damage vulnerability and take 3 times as much damage.
Now he says that they take 3 times as much damage. That is actually not true. If there was 100% damage vulnerability, it means that you don't deal more damage. You deal like one times more damage, which is that you deal the same damage. If there is 200% vulnerability, it means twice the damage. If there is 300% vulnerability, it means three times. If there is 400, it means that you deal four times more damage. Four times the base that you did before. You don't deal additional four times damage, you deal four times the base damage. So if you did 100, you deal 400.
Yeah, it's not line. So, with 300% ability strength, they have 400% damage vulnerability and take 3 times as much damage.
No, they take three times additional base damage. But just to make it easy for us, they take four times base damage, not three times additional plus base. They take four times the base instead of the 100%.
Yeah, it's not exactly intuitive,
It is actually very intuitive once you understand how it works.
but man, does it have a lot of potential. As far as I
A lot of potential. It doesn't work on most of the stuff. It doesn't work on Archons and on a lot of the end game single target things that you actually need more damage. But yeah, it works on heavy gunners on like 999 levels.
can tell, it stacks multiplicatively with everything. Base damage, crit, elemental mod, the viral status effect. It stacks multiplicatively with Eclipse. Guys,
I know that some of you go apeshit when you see multiplicative damage, but this is only multiplicative to the few enemies that you enchant, and in most cases it's not needed. The crit chance you have on your passive is always all the time. It's like one additional mod all the time. This thing, it's good, it can help you kill some heavy targets faster, but it's not that much needed.
that is not something you hear often. On a build with Eclipse, 300% ability strength, and 10 stacks of viral, you would deal 47 times more damage to that target. And it was at this moment I allowed myself to have some hope for yareli. And then I looked at the rest of the kit. But you skipped over Maralina! Oh, don't worry, we will get back to this K-Drive disaster. I have plenty to say about this undulating doormat. But first, this and this number is lying to you. This is
There is a lot of things in Warframe abilities that, a lot of Warframe abilities do something that is not described in the description of the abilities. You need to go actually for wiki to see what it actually does. So, yeah, the things that are listed there actually lie to you. But it is nothing new. It is nothing like Yareli is the only Warframe that isn't described well. She's one of many, actually.
a vacuum power. It gathers the enemies.
By the way, the range where it gathers enemies is 15 meters. It is scalable by range, and with like 55% range, you get to like 22 meters. So it has decent pool, but it's not very high. Um,
So you'd think that it would pull the enemies within 39 meters of the ability towards the center of it for 17 seconds. But no. You see how this enemy is 20 meters away and yet nothing is happening? That's because Riptide only pulls enemies for 3 seconds at 100% duration.
yes, the abilities are not described well in the description. You actually need to go for wiki to see what it does. So 15-meter pool, decent, not amazing, decent.
And at 273% duration, it pulls enemies for 3 seconds. What this means, effectively, is that you cannot pull enemies further than 20 meters away. And again, Magus Anomaly will do up to.
I actually didn't notice that you cannot pull them from very far away. I never played Hirali for maximum range because it doesn't make too much sense. There are a lot of grouping abilities. Maybe Yarali is better, I'm not sure, but I just never tried that, so I don't know about her ultimate. I actually ever I I I thought that her ultimate is the weakest ability and it probably is even now after the buff. Yeah,
to
no
30 meters. And furthermore, this terrible CC ability costs 100 energy to cast.
It is very expensive, yes. But what are you gonna use your energy for? Your two is it's like all the time on you. Your three has like 1 minute duration. Your one, despite him saying that it costs too much energy, it is actually very cheap and you don't need to cast it too much. And your ultimate, it is actually quite draining, but it is the only thing that actually drains energy from you. So I don't see problem with it being expensive.
That is outrageous. Dianix can do the exact same thing for 1/8 of the cost.
Except he needs to hit enemies at certain angle, while yareli just aims on the ground. So
Sure, he has to hit an
there
enemy,
is a bit of
honestly,
difference.
so what?
What do you mean, so what? You need to spend energy. So what? I can also say this.
And also, using this as a damage ability is just laughable.
And you don't need to only hit your enemy. You also need to hit him into wall to get a suck effect. So it's pretty much the same thing as Geralt's passive. It is good, but it's not up all the time. As I said, this is up usually like 85% of the time, but it's not all the time. You cannot say that you have always 100% crit chance. You have it a lot of the time, but not all, it's not all the time. So yeah, her ultimate is much stronger, but it's not that powerful that it would make some huge shift in the meta. It's like thing that you do on the sidelines. You see group of enemies, you pull them in, you strip their armor, you proc some viral procs, you kill all of them. So it's good for that. But usually it's not really necessary. You just do it if you have a lot of energy.
Have you ever wanted to shield gate, but with extra steps? We usually categorize warframes as health tanks, shield frames, or invis frames, which is to say that we often categorize warframes based on their survivability because that infers how they play. Some warframes exist in multiple categories. Look at Raruna, who is both a shield gating warframe and an invis frame. Then we also have a few ability tanks such as Rhino, who mainly uses Iron Skin, and Revenant, who exclusively uses Mesmer Skin. Yareli is a Maralina frame, and that is as dumb as it sounds. Let's just set one thing straight. This cannot be compared to Nisha's Warding Halo.
Actually, Yareli Hermerina, it's the closest ability to warding Halo that ever existed in the game. Well, it is the closest ability to warding Halo. Actually, Yareli is the closest warframe to Nesha. Nesha is fast, but it's not that easy to control. The same thing in Merolina. Nesha has damage vulnerability now also. Yareli does have that. Nesha has damage reduction also. Yareli has damage reduction. Um, Nesha has CC ultimate also. Yareli has CC ultimate. What else? Yeah, that's pretty much it. There are a lot of similarities. I probably butchered that, but anyway.
Because that ability redirects 90% of incoming damage into the ring, while
Yes, Yareli only has 75% redirection into Merulina, which is like 60% weaker, I would say, something like that. 25% go into you, and to Neja goes 10%. But apparently, Yareli is going to get another buff, which will make her Merulina have 90% reduction, which was actually not necessary. I played her for a very long time and I never needed. Well, I did like 2 hour survival, but that was the only time when I needed the extra survivability. In most cases, you don't need it.
Maralina only redirects 75%, while Nesya takes 100 damage from a 1000 damage attack. Yareli takes 250 damage from that same attack. It's a huge deal. You need
Yeah, right now, Nesha has higher protection than Yareli, but there is not that many frames that have higher defenses than Yareli. Even though there are some that are stronger right now, there is not a lot of them. There are like 5 frames that might compete above Yareli, maybe 7, something like that. But there is like 51 frames, so Yareli is above all of them, and only like behind the 7 or frames that are tankier. So yeah, she's not as tanky as Neja, at least not at this patch right now, but she will probably very soon be. So I am um, looking forward for the new video about the 90% damage reduction Merolina, where you will shit on her for some different new potat reason.
that 90% DR if you want to health slash shield tank. And I haven't even mentioned the fucking K drive yet. The only
What is this?
upside is that you get
Why he is shift sprinting while not being able to navigate?
one
Why did he just jump bump into the wall? Is he stupid? Is he fucking retarded?
additional second of vulnerability.
This is fucking noob trying to say, oh, Merolina is bad because she always bumps into walls. You are controlling the Merolina. She has 2 speed settings. There is the normal movement, good for things where you can bump into walls, and there is the sprint, when you know that you will not bump into anything. And look at this
To
shit.
health slash shield tank. And I haven't even mentioned the fucking
Why did he just shift sprint?
K drive.
He gets stopped. Of course he does. He's fucking noob. Even I wouldn't shift here. And if I did, I would just get on the top here and then I would stop it and get to the door. He's just fucking idiot.
Yet. The only
What was this? What was this movement? He's playing it like some noob.
upside is that you get one at
Why did he shift again into the wall? Didn't he see the wall?
the fucking K drive yet. The only upside is that you get one
Okay, I understand if you are retarded or something and you are not able to learn from your mistakes and observe your surroundings, and if you are retarded from the constant bullet jumping into walls, then you might think that the thing that you get slowed if you bump into walls is bad, but you actually need to learn how to ride a thing. You need to be more careful about your movement. You cannot just sprint into wall and say, "Oh, this warframe is trash. I just bump into the wall. If I wouldn't play early, I could just bump into another wall and not lose my movement speed." This is what I'm talking about. They are fucking noobs. They probably even didn't play the quest, where you need to do some jumps and tricks. They don't even know how to handle early. They don't even know that she has fluid movement. They probably just bought her for the video. That's what I'm assuming. I don't understand how these people play the game. They probably play by their feet. That's what I would assume. If you look at this video, I would assume that he plays it with his feet.
additional second of
What was this? Why did he just sprint into the and almost fall down?
vulnerability.
It doesn't make any sense. And now he also again sprint into the wall, and he bumped into it. And he's like, "Oh, this warframe is uncontrollable." You are fucking stupid. Stop doing this dumb shit.
While up in the
What the fuck are you doing? Why did he just sprint into the right again? Why don't he just moves into the thing inside and goes there?
K drive.
And he
Like
again
you
bumps into wall
never
and then jumps down. If you think that this video is real and he actually struggles with getting through the walls, to through the door, um, then it's he doesn't struggle with it. If he does, then I'm sorry for him. There is something wrong with him, seriously. I hope that this is his first time using Perulina, because what I just saw, unbelievable.
Want to be up on the cage
Look, I just dropped to the ground. This Warframe is bad.
drive ever in the history of ever.
And then I also sprint to the side, and I got stuck. Let me quit this game. I cannot stand this anymore.
You lose everything when you get up on that clunky, unfinished piece of shit movement tool. And
He got
I
there.
say that in giant quotes.
Do you see how he tried to get out of there? And he's trying to blame it on Marulina? He completely changed his movement. Instead of going front, like going that way, he was like, let me bump into this wall and lose all of my momentum and everything.
Quotation marks because it's more of an
And why he's sprinting again? Doesn't he understand that sprinting reduces your maneuverability?
anti-movement tool.
Yareli is faster without sprinting than regular sprinting Warframe. And it's by a lot.
It obviously wasn't meant to go here. And just to answer the age-old question, no, she still cannot go through this door. You will hit these tiny invisible pieces of geometry and
Look how he struggles. It's funny.
just get
It's
yeeted into the ceiling. And for some goddamn reason, you will bounce backwards. You cannot use melee or primary.
also whenever this happens, in most cases, if you go into operator and you jump forward and then you transfer into Warframe, the Merulina will get transferred or transported into the place when you were as operator. So even if you fall down, you can still save it with your operator
So no primer for
in
you,
most cases.
no mobility, no
Yeah, now he's talking about the fact that you can only use your secondary weapon, which is a little bit of downside, but if you use good weapon, uh, you don't need anything else.
and for some goddamn reason you will bounce backwards. You cannot use melee or primary, so
It's actually good that you cannot use melee. Smashing your melee button all the time is not good for your fingers. So using AoE secondary to just blast everything, it makes the game much easier. So make the game easier for yourself and play yarely. That's what I'm talking about.
so no primer for you.
No primer. Um, at what levels you actually start to need primer? Now maybe you say like steel path 150 level, which is pretty much all the steel path. Uh, if you are using weak secondary, you need primer. But if you are using strong secondary, even at steel path 150 levels, you don't need primer. And the only thing you need is operator that reduces or completely removes enemy armor. And you can still do it quite easily. You just press 5, you press your your 1 button. I think it's 1, maybe it's 2. And you completely strip enemy armor and you don't need any primer. Just like that, you strip the armor, you get back onto the yareli, and she's on her Merulina. In most cases, you don't need any primers.
No mobility, no damage.
No mobility. Yareli has one of the best mobilities in the game because of Merulina. If you are not fucking retarded and do the thing that guy did, like sprinting into wall 5 times in a row, falling to the ground, and then sprinting again into another wall, then if you are a little bit better and you forget at least in the preschool that if you forget that the sprint exists, you're gonna make yourself a much bigger service than trying to use it. In most cases, using sprint is bad, even for me. And I'm decently good at Marina movement, but in most cases, it's just not good.
You can or primary, so no primer for you, no mobility, no
No mobility,
damage.
no damage. He just said that lithium is one of the strongest secondaries in the game, and he says no damage. But I just proved that you can use lithium and have it stronger than anyone else in the game, without considering buffs like well, roar or stuff like that. But you can have constant maximum damage all the time. You can have more damage than anyone. Again, if I'm not considering buffs from helmet abilities, because Yareli, because of bugs, is not able to use helmet abilities at all.
You cannot even use subsume abilities while up on this K drive.
That is what I thought. You cannot use them, and they also don't work probably. What I've read, most of them don't work when you are on K drive. I tried Zata's Whisperer, and it seems that it works, that it actually doesn't work. So I would say that this Mirage ability, Eclipse, probably also doesn't work, and he just doesn't know it.
Why not? Titania can, so why not Yareli? And also,
Now yeah, this is one of the problems. A lot of the things that work on other Warframes don't work on Yareli. And the reason is because there is a lot of bugs. Yareli and Merolina is considered a separate entity than Yareli, and because of that, many things don't work, like the anomaly thing that you put on your operator, and certain other things, like arcanes. Also, some of them don't work. Some of them are broken. So there is a lot of bugs with Yareli. Hopefully, they will be fixed one day. But even though there are some bugs, it is playable.
the tiny grace period after getting off Merlina is a meme.
So now he's saying that the thing that she has something decent makes her worse, or how am I supposed to understand it? He's pretty much underlying the thing she has. Well, the invincibility isn't like something that you can depend on, but it is something very powerful. Well, it's not. Yeah, it is decently powerful, but it's not something you can depend on. So I wouldn't even talk about it. This doesn't. It's not even worth talking about the few seconds in invincibility.
You'd be better off using protective sling.
Hmm? Every Warframe would be better off using protective sling. But do you know why nobody uses it? Because nobody wants to always pop into their operator whenever their invincibility is down. What is actually uptime on the operator abilities, on the protective sling? Are you able to have it all the time, 100%? I didn't try protective sling yet, but if I went for like 2 hour survival, when I would start to need the protective sling, I would not be able to have it 100% all the time. I would just die because I didn't have it up. So,
Damage rotation on Yareli will look something like this.
okay, now he's showing the best damage rotation.
Cast Merlina to not die.
Okay, you need to be on Merolina, that's true.
Group enemies with Riptide, then spam Ceaseness.
Okay, now he's saying that the thing that she has damage vulnerability on her seasonals is actually bad. Okay, so he groups the enemies, he amplifies the damage multiple times,
Get off Merlina and prime the enemies
he primes the enemies with Cedo. Okay,
with the Zero. Get back on Merlina to not die. Jump into operator mode and strip armor. Make sure not to move for
did he miss something? The armor wasn't stripped.
back on Marlena to not die. Jump into operator mode and strip armor. Make sure not to move for 2 seconds to get the stacks on your item and then kill.
So first of all, you only need to be, you need to be on arena all the time. Then you need to use your ultimate. Then you go into operator and strip armor. And then you just shoot them. And as I showed you, you don't even need to stand on the ground on the time. It's better if you move because you get more crit chance. You just need to use mods that actually make sense. And I would actually not use Layton for in most cases. It has too much damage and you just don't need it. Why would he even play Layton against like 190 heavy gunners in this way? You don't need to group them and armor strip them and apply all the viral procs and heat procs and apply all the C-snares. You can just kill them without anything. This is not the normal damage rotation or however he calls that.
Ollie will look something like this. Marlena is a meme. You'd be better off using protective sling.
I just want to hear how he plays that.
8 damage rotation on yareli sling. 8 damage rotation.
What damage rotation?
Protective sling. 8 damage rotation.
Gear damage rotation. Is it just me or what is he saying?
Rotation on yareli will look something like this. Cast Marlena to not die.
He's saying that Marina, Yareli is squishy, but he has 200 health. What is his build? He says that Marina is meme. He is meme. Why only he has 200 health? It doesn't make sense. He can go either energy shield based Yareli with arcane something that restores his shield, or he can go health based Yareli, which have a lot of armor, adaptation stacks, lot of health, and also the 75% damage reduction. You don't need to have like only 500 health total maximum in this case. You can have way more.
Group enemies with Riptide, then spam C-snares. Get off Marlena and prime the enemies with the Zero. Get back on Marlena to not die. Jump into operator mode and strip armor. Make sure not to move.
This is the best damage rotation you can have. But this is not something that you will normally do. And the thing that you have more tools at your disposal, meaning your one and your ultimate, doesn't mean that it's bad. So the thing that you need for maximum damage and usage of your Warframe to have like a 7-second setup doesn't make the Warframe bad. If like Hydroid doesn't need a setup, it doesn't mean that Hydroid is better. It just means that Hydroid doesn't have any abilities to help him to do more damage. Yareli has a lot of tools to deal more damage. She can group enemies, she can amplify her damage. With Operator, you can strip armor, and in most cases, you don't need to use that many of them. You just need to usually just group them and kill them. You don't even need to group them in most cases. Okay, let's continue.
2 seconds to get the stacks on your item and then kill. Repeat for every enemy group.
Repeat for every enemy group. Now he's saying it like you need to do this damage rotation for every single enemy group. But actually, when do you need to do that much damage? I will show it to you very soon.
This is an insane effort and never yielded more than mediocre results at best. If you group, this is an insane effort and never yielded more than mediocre.
This is an insane effort and never yielded more than mediocre results at best. So his one multiplies damage multiple times. His ultimate groups enemies. He has a lot of tools at disposal. He's using them, and he's saying that it's not worth it. I'm telling you what is not worth it. It's not worth it to use all your tools. That's what it's not worth it. You don't need to prime your enemies. You don't even need to strip their armor. You don't even need to group them. That is the thing. You are doing all of that for nothing.
Results at best. If you think this makes it playable, then I'd like some of the copium you're on. So yeah, Yareli still needs a few years in developer oven. She went from being raw to being half cooked, but this is still just awful. I don't know if this is a hot take, but just get rid of the K drive.
Again, the biggest thing that people hate is the K drive. Why? Because I'm going to show you why. Why people hate K drive. Why people hate Merulina and K drive. Actually, here it is. Hopefully,
I haven't
okay. Just get rid of K drive. Look at it. It is uncontrollable. I cannot move, man. I couldn't move, man. Yeah. This is why people want K drive removed. Because they drive like stupid apes. So if someone tells you this is why yareli is bad, um, yeah, this is why yareli is bad. Yeah, true, true story, bro. Damage loop.
right. Make Marlena a skin for K drives and give a real survivability tool to Yareli. Also, Riptide needs to either have its energy cost cut by 50% or it needs to break the mold and drag enemies for the full duration. I mean, you're still gonna get fucked by Xmas units, so at least let us have this. Anyways, Yareli still fucking sucks. I hate her. Have a better day.
This is funny.
Is that you
Okay, this is why Merulina sucks. I just can't get enough from that. I guess that he wanted to show how terrible she is, but he kind of went overboard and tried too hard to make her look bad. Okay, now I'm going to show you the true damage rotation. So first of all, enemies, okay, I'll just do them right now like this. So you get on Merolina, use your one to make enemies unmovable, then you can use later to do headshots, easy. Then you swap into this, use your ultimate to group them, and you just kill them. Okay, then you go into another group, and you can group them, but you don't need to, just kill them. Okay, this is my damage rotation. Looks a little bit faster. I'm not sure. You can say, you can tell me. Is it a little bit better? Maybe a bit. Okay. So that was my damage rotation. Let's try it then. Okay. Marina. Okay. And my damage rotation. This is how my normal damage rotation works. Okay. Alright. Decent enough. It seems that I got some of the stacks, so that's nice. Just to make sure. Once again, my damage rotation, nice. Okay, and you need to do this with every single group. That's the hard part of it. Okay, so that's it. You can also do something else. If you want to really try hard, I have Cedo here if I go like level 5000 or something. But also one thing, if you need level 5000, you just need to get more health. So you will get more health orbs, and the longer you stay in the game, the more health orbs you will get. This thing only works as a bug, and hopefully will be fixed because there is a lot of bugs that actually are bad for early. But this is one of those that is actually decently enough good. So I would say that I might be able to survive a little bit higher level enemies. I'm not exactly sure which ones, but maybe a bit higher. It goes to like 70,000 or stuff like that. It always is a bit different. But okay, my damage rotation. Yeah, I wanted to show you how it actually works. So group them, go to operator, reduce the armor. I missed. Okay, now I didn't, and then just kill them. That's it. Also, again, group enemies, Operator, reduce armor, kill them. You don't even need to like move to get a crit chance. You have so much damage that it's just not important. Okay, let's try some harder enemies. What are the hardest enemies I can actually spawn? As you can see, the heavy gunners are very easy. The hardest level enemies or the hardest enemies are these ones. They are immune to viral, so yeah, they cannot be primed, and they have a lot of armor. So let's try that. First of all, I'm just gonna go for the normal kills, and then I'm just gonna skip the armor. Okay, so okay. Now I have full ammunition, and it kind of kills them. Okay, decent enough, decent weapon. Okay, yareli actually makes lithium bad. Okay, okay, you can think that. Okay, uh-huh, yep, yep. Okay, this is my DPS rotation. So, um, if you think that yareli is bad, first learn to how you use your hair drive. My lesson number one, and the only one that I'm going to give you right now, is never sprint because it makes you bump into wall and lose all your speed. Just use normal movement, and she is decently enough, like maneuverable. I also again probably butchered that. Anyway, thanks for watching, and see you next time.